So I recorded this video yesterday, but it deleted itself off of YouTube, and I had already deleted it off of my recording app because I thought it had uploaded and I didn't want to have it using up my space. But here we are. So this is what if Naruto was OP. And in this, I'm going to give him Iron Sand release, Swift release, Void release, and I made up a tailed beast. Well, I made it to where there's another hidden tailed beast, and it's the 20-tailed beast, and he also has a dojutsu that possesses the powers of the Rinnegan, the Byakugan, and the Ketsurigan. And yeah, that's all he has. And let's get this started. So at the age of 5, he would be walking around the village. Oh, and the reason how he gets the freaking 20 tails is there was no 9 tails attack, because when Obito had took the 9 tails out of Kushina, he was then forced to retreat by Minato, and Kushina ended up dying, and Minato ended up dying because he got caught off guard by Kushina's death, and the Nine Tails ended up killing him. And while the Nine Tails is about to start attacking the village, he gets stopped by another large beast with even more tails than he, and in an instant, he was destroyed. Then this tailed beast would get small and seemingly disappear from everyone's sight, but he would just be invisible as the tailed beast was going into its spiritual form, as it was looking for a vessel, and it found the son of the Hokage, the fourth Hokage, and the girl that was the Nine-Tailed Jinchuriki. So he ended up making the boy his vessel. And now, when the boy, Naruto, was 5, he was walking through the forest by himself. And when he made it to the path that led back to the village, he would see a girl being picked on by 2 jonin. And they would be calling her useless and tugging on her hair, which would anger Naruto. And Naruto would go over there in a flash of an eye, using his Swift release, and punch one of the jonin in their face, then kneeing him in the stomach and kicking his head toward the tree, knocking him out. Then he would look at the other jonin and punch him in the gut and slam his face into the ground. He would then turn around to the girl and ask her if she was alright, and she would nod her head before running off at the call of her name. And while the boy would walk through the village once more, he would look up to the ceilings and to the roofs of the houses in the village, and he would see Anbu members. And he would begin to follow them, staying undetected and moving swiftly. And he would end up making it to the foundation, where he finally revealed himself. And every Anbu that was in the facility would then surround him with their kunais to his neck. But Naruto showed no fear, which caught Danzo's interest, who was watching from the darkness. And he would emerge from the darkness, saying, "Back up from the boy," as all the Anbu would back up. And Naruto would look Danzo in his eyes and say, "Can I join the Anbu?" And Danzo would say, "Well, we have to see what you can bring to the table," as he would send one of his Anbu at Naruto. And then Naruto would turn around and kicked the Anbu, which the Anbu blocked, but it sent him back a little bit. He would then dash at Naruto, getting ready to cut his cheek, but Naruto would dodge out of the way, grab his arm, and slam him onto the ground. And when the Anbu tried to get up, Naruto would kick him in the face, which would make the Anbu fall back down. And then Naruto was getting ready to deliver one last punch, which the Anbu just barely had dodged, and he would kick Naruto in his shoulder. He would then stand up and stare Naruto in his eyes, and Naruto would stare at him. And then a dark substance will start pouring from Naruto's sleeves. It would be his iron sand, as there was only a little bit of it, but it was enough to wrap around the Anbu's ankle and start to squeeze his ankle. And this would put the Anbu into submission, and Naruto would now be a part of the Anbu. And after 3 years, he had became a captain literally after a month of training there. And after 3 years, he's been able to take on everyone in the Anbu, besides 2 people who he had never met, and he'd only heard stories of from Danzo. And today was the day that he would meet those 2. So while he was waiting for the 2 to arrive, standing next to Danzo, and he would be waiting with Danzo, as Danzo would then say, "They have arrived," as 2 boys, just a little bit older than Naruto, would be outside in front of them, outside the door. And they would walk in and bow to Danzo, and then ask, "Is this the boy you wanted us to see? He looks pretty young." And Danzo would say, "Yes, this boy is quite strong, and I want you guys to see how strong he is compared to you 2. And they would nod their heads before the 3 Anbu had disappeared. The Anbu had then appeared in a field, all of them looking at each other, and Naruto would be the first to speak. "I think I'm strong enough to take you both on. So, let's do this." He would then activate his dojutsu that looked at white and had a red marking in the middle that looked kind of like a shuriken. And then he would get into his stance, and both Itachi and Shisui will get into their stances. They would both charge at Naruto, but Naruto would dodge elegantly, turn around, and deliver a gentle palm to the side of Shisui's stomach. And then he would do a 360, kicking Itachi on his way around, sending him flying the other way. He had then separated both Itachi and Shisui, which was good for him. And he would dash over to Itachi, and they would engage in battle. Itachi would be trying to block Naruto's attacks or even dodge them, but they were just coming too fast, as Naruto would punch Itachi in the face twice. Then he would pull his arm back, and iron sand would build around it, and he would uppercut Itachi. But before Itachi can go too far, his sand would extend out and wrap around Itachi's legs, slamming him onto the ground. But when he slammed onto the ground, he turned into a log, as Naruto had ducked, dodging a kunai. Then Shisui came from above, trying to plant his foot into Naruto's head, but Naruto would move out of the way, and then push his palm into Shisui's stomach, and quietly saying, "Gale palm," which would send Shisui flying. but he would catch himself. Then both Shisui and Itachi would activate their two Tomoe Sharingans and say, "Fire style, majestic destroyer flames," as these powerful flames would be rushing towards Naruto. Naruto would just disappear when the two flames had hit each other. And Naruto would be behind Shisui, and he would kick him in his back. Shisui would then turn around, and both he and Naruto would be going blow for blow. As then, when Itachi joined, Naruto actually started trying, as they were both together once more. And these two are formidable opponents. And he's being able to keep up with them, but he has to stay on the defensive. If he was to attack, he would probably miss, and they'd probably catch him. So, he's thinking of a plan. And then, he releases his Iron Sand, making both of them jump back. And then, he would make it go in between the two, forcing them to have to separate. He would then make his Iron Sand chase Shisui while he starts to fight Itachi. And this takes high level of skill to make your sand focus on one opponent while you're fighting a whole different opponent. And Naruto was pulling it off flawlessly, as he was keeping Itachi on the defensive and keeping Shisui away. Naruto would then get ready to throw a punch at Itachi, and Itachi would seemingly get hit, but nothing would happen. Naruto would then repeatedly punch Itachi, and Itachi still wouldn't move, and he showed no expression either. Naruto would think that that's weird, as just a moment ago he was defending, but now he's just letting me hit him. Has he given up? No way. As he would then duck, and he would go back to reality, as Shisui and Itachi had both tried to punch him, and he would see Itachi with his Mangekyo Sharingan. He had then realized that he was in a Genjutsu the whole time, and that he was planting both his hands on the ground and kicked them both in their chins. Excuse me. Sorry. Sending them flying back, and then he would stick out his arm saying, "Almighty, pull," as they would start flying back towards him, and he would extend his arms out, engulfing them in Iron Sand, and he would clothesline the both of them, and they would both fall to the ground, gasping for air. They would then jump back, and they would stare at Naruto, and Naruto would refrain from looking at them in their eyes, but he would still be looking at them. And Shisui would have a skeleton arm, lime green, appear around his right side, and Itachi on his left, but it would be a light orange or light red. And they would say, "I'm sorry, but this match is now over." But out of the blue, a white half Susanoo with no armor appeared around Naruto. And he would say, "Yeah, this match is over." With just his pure speed alone, like just his speed, not using his swift release, he would appear behind the two and throw two devastating punches, which they would use their skeleton arms to block, but they would be sent back. They couldn't withstand the power behind Naruto's punches. And then Naruto, somehow still being able to use his Iron Sand, even though he's trying to use his Susanoo, he would make his Iron Sand like wrap around Itachi's Susanoo arm and like hold it to the ground. So Itachi's struggling to like break the arm out of it, and he doesn't want to deactivate it and try to activate it again, because that would be draining for him and he might not be able to use it again. So he's fighting against the sand. Then Naruto is throwing a barrage of punches at Shisui's skeleton arm, which he's trying to use to block. But he's on the defensive as he's literally laying on the ground and Naruto is standing above him, punching down. And then, with one last punch, Naruto would break the skeleton arm and punch through the rib cage part, landing a direct hit on Shisui, knocking him out. And he would then have his iron sand squeeze onto Itachi's skeleton arm and would snap it like a twig. As then he would appear in front of Itachi and slam his fist down on Itachi, knocking him out as well. They would then report back to Danzo, telling everything that had happened, detail for detail. And while Naruto was lost in a trance, he was then in a dark room. And in this dark room, he would see multiple tails emerge from the darkness. And then he would see a head of a wolf. And he would say, "Who are you?" As this being would emerge from the darkness, revealing 2 more heads and many more tails. He would say, "I am Cerberus, the 20-tailed beast. And they based that 3-headed dog off of me. But I am much stronger, as you will soon see." Naruto would say, "Well, since you're so strong and you're living in my body, the least you can do is train me, right?" Cerberus would then say, "I couldn't have said that better myself." As he would then start training Naruto for the next 2 years. Hold up, I'll be back. My dog's barking at something outside. I had to bring my dog inside. There was some cat out there. But, yeah, this is what the tailed beast looks like in full. This is what it looks like. And, yeah. So, after this, 2 years, and Naruto is 10, he would then see Shisui outside his door. And he would open his door, asking what Shisui had wanted. And Shisui would say, "Well, Danzo wants us for a mission, so don't be late." And then Naruto would go back into his house and get into his Anbo clothes. And then he would rush off to go see Danzo. And when he made it there, they would then fill him in on a mission as there was a sand giant that was leaking information about the Leaf Village. And they gave him his house address and what he looked like. Then the 3 Anbu would go off to see if they could find the man. And once they got to the sand village, there was a couple of guards they needed to knock out, but they easily knocked them out. And they snuck past 3 others. And then they would find the house they needed to. And they would be surprised, as his house is literally not too far from the village gate, which was kind of dumb if he was going to be leaking information. And if someone found out, it would be easy to find him. But they didn't complain about it, as it made their job easier. And they would go to his door. And they would wait outside, making a plan and deciding who would be able to fight him. While Naruto was lost in his mind, looking at a boy with red hair that was training with sand. He was a little fascinated by the boy. But then Itachi would snap him back into reality, saying, "Hey, it's your turn. Go against Shisui in rock, paper, scissors, shoot. I lost. And if you win, you get to take this opponent out." and Naruto would win. Naruto would lose. So Shisui would go at the door and just kick it open, and he would then kill the Jonin. But there would be a struggle as the Jonin tried desperately throwing objects at Shisui, so Shisui wouldn't get close to him. And in this time, Naruto would notice there would be sand seeping from under the stair they were on, as they were in an apartment complex. And it was like an outside apartment complex where you had to go up the stairs and outside. And then he would see the boy that was training. "What are you doing here?" the boy would say. Naruto would then say, "That's really none of your concern now, is it?" He would say, "It is, because I am a sand ninja, and you are a leaf ninja. And not only that, you're an Anbu, and your friend here just broke into that house. So tell me, why are you here?" "I'm not going to tell you that, but I can tell you my name. And the way things are now, I know why I should tell you my name. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the person that's going to beat you right here, right now." Gaara will then say, "Well, my name is Gaara, and I will never lose to some scum like you." As he would send his sand after Naruto, and Naruto would use his iron sand to overpower Gaara's sand. And every time Gaara would try to send his sand at Naruto, Naruto would just counter with his iron sand. And then Naruto would use his sand and make some of it go inside of Gaara's sand and push, using his sand to overpower Gaara's commands over his sand. And he would make it open a pathway to where Naruto can stare straight at Gaara and Gaara could stare straight at him. And Naruto would move swiftly and appear in front of him, drop kicking him off the stairs, sending him tumbling down. But Gaara had caught himself with some of his sand, as his sand had managed to escape the grasp of Naruto's. But when he caught himself, Naruto appeared above him, and he started spinning fast. And then when Naruto was right above Gaara, he would slam his foot down into Gaara, which Gaara had blocked, but it sent him through his own sand and slammed him into the ground. Then Naruto would hold his hands out and say, lightning style, overrush, as a bunch of lightning bolts would appear from his hands, and it would break through the sand, so it would be completely useless against trying to get Naruto from out of the air. Then Naruto would land above Gaara and start beating on him as Gaara's sand rushed towards them. Naruto would use his iron sand to create a dome around the both of the boys while Naruto was still beating on him. And then he would punch Gaara straight through the sand. And then he would walk back over him once more. Gaara, losing consciousness, he would say, "Remember the name Naruto Uzumaki," as he would walk off. And Itachi and Shisui would appear next to him as they would leave the sand village and return. And when Itachi made it back to his house, he would see Sasuke. And he would say, "Hello, little brother." And Sasuke would say both their parents didn't survive their illnesses, with a sad expression on his face. Itachi had a sad expression as well, but he would just say, "Well, there's nothing we can do about it now." And he would start training Sasuke, trying to get Sasuke's mind off of it. We're going to pass another 2 years. And Naruto, when he goes into, the tail cloak state, he has a mane around his neck. His ears are smaller. He has also tufts of hair on his arms. well, on the cloak where the arms would be, and on the legs where the legs would be in the cloak. And his tail, it seems like more wolf-like than fox-like. And yeah, and when he goes into a six-tail state with the bones surrounding him, it's pretty much a wolf exoskeleton. It looks like that pretty much. And instead of only some of the tails having the bone around it, all the tails have the bone around it. And he can use a six-tail cloak right now. And he's mastered using his dojutsu, and he's kind of been able to use his void release. He hasn't used it much because it's really draining. And yeah, he's just much stronger. So when he would be in class, he's 12 now, just to clarify, he would then commence with the graduating exams, which he would pass with flying colors. And everyone was surprised, as Naruto still faked to be at the bottom of the class, as he didn't want to draw attention to himself. And then Sasuke would challenge Naruto, seeing as he thinks Naruto's trying to show up Sasuke, or himself, because Sasuke had made one clone, and Naruto had made 3. So Naruto would say, why do you have intentions to fight someone weaker than you? He knows he's not weaker than Sasuke, but he's asking this question as he made himself appear weak to Sasuke. Sasuke would say, because I don't believe you. I think this is all an act. Naruto would say, good job, as he would start slowly clapping his hands, saying, you finally caught on. And he would say, I'll be waiting outside, as he would disappear. And Sasuke would also disappear from... They would be outside, and everyone would look out the windows, watching what was about to happen. And in an instant, Sasuke instantly started rushing at Naruto. But Naruto would start dodging all of his attacks with ease, then kneeing him in the stomach and then kicking him away. You can't tell me that's all you got. You are an Uchiha after all. And this would anger Sasuke, activating his 3 Tomoe Sharingan. He would say, I won't hold back. As he would then, when Sasuke would rush at Naruto, he would then say, I'm not holding back anymore. And he would start trying to attack Naruto, but Naruto was still dodging all of his attacks. Naruto would then launch a powerful kick to Sasuke's face, but Sasuke would block it. But Sasuke's arms would be hurt. And then Naruto would use his other leg, to kick Sasuke in his stomach, sending him flying. He would say, that really is all you had, isn't it? Sasuke would then say, fire style, Phoenix Flower Jutsu, as 3 fireballs would then start circling around Naruto. And in an instant, they would all turn their direction at Naruto and launch at him. Naruto would say, Void Style, Barrier, as dark purple energy would blast up from the ground into the air, blocking the fireballs. Naruto would then say, I didn't need to use that jutsu, but I did so I can exhaust some of my chakra. Maybe then you'll be able to compete with me. As then, Sasuke would be angered and start attacking Naruto in a blind rage. And Naruto would say, you just don't learn. You can't attack in rage just because someone has made you angry. It'll make you weak. As Naruto would quickly punch him in the face so fast that no one had seen it. And Sasuke would be knocked out. Then, when Sasuke awoke, he was in the classroom, and everyone else was sitting around him. But Naruto was sitting by himself in the corner of the room. And they would then all get given their teams. And Sasuke would be angered that he's on the same team with Naruto. And Kakashi knows who's like gonna be on his team. He knows like he knows about Naruto and stuff because he's heard like stories from the other Jonin. So he came on time to pick them up, and they pretty much did the same thing they did in the original. But Naruto's goal isn't to be Hokage; it's just to be the strongest ninja to ever live. So then he would be informed about the bell test, and the bell test would be pretty easy for Naruto, as he made a plan with Sasuke and Sakura, but it was pretty much not even an actual plan. He just wanted Sasuke to be there so it looked like it was a plan, and he wanted Sakura to grab the bell so he could include her in a way she was useful, and he and Sasuke would just bombard Kakashi with so many attacks while he forgot about Sakura, and then Sakura swooped in to grab the bells. So, yeah, that was easy. Then, Naruto and Sasuke would both skip out on missions as they were getting trained, one by Itachi and Shisui, while the other by the 20-tailed beast. And while Sasuke's training with Shisui and Itachi, he would say, "Finally, I'll be able to surpass that dummy, that Naruto. I'll be able to beat him." And this will put a sad look on Itachi and Shisui's face. And he would say, "What's wrong with you two?" "Well, Naruto, at the rate we're going at right now, you won't be able to surpass him. For he was able to best both Shisui and I in a battle at the same time." And this would leave Sasuke's jaw just wide open, and he would be shocked. But this would make him angry, as his two idols were beaten by the guy he hates. But this would only make him train even harder, and he would then be able to use his Mangekyo Sharingan from time to time. And then they would do the same thing where they want to get the freaking mission, the C-rank mission that they got. Then they did it. They took care of the Demon Brothers easily. And then when the fog built up, instead of everyone ducking when Kakashi says it, Naruto just puts his hand up and has iron sand built around it. And it snaps the sword in half. And this would anger Zabuza, who would emerge from the trees, slamming his fist down on Naruto, which Naruto would block, and they would be at a standstill. But then Zabuza would push off Naruto's arms with his arms, doing a backflip, landing on his feet. And he would say, "You dumb brat, you broke my sword. Now you have to pay." As he would rush at Naruto and throw a barrage of punches and kicks. But Naruto would block all these attacks with ease, as he would kick Zabuza in the stomach, sending him flying back. And he would hold out his hand, calling his scythe to him. He would say, "This is light work, and I'll take care of you quickly." As he would dash at Zabuza with so much speed that Zabuza almost wasn't able to react. And Zabuza would say, "Now I shall use my jutsu, the one I perfected for so long." He would say that in his head, though, as he would say, bubble time," as bubbles move slowly, so the bubble would encase everyone in a 15-foot radius, and would make them all move slow. So everyone's moving slow besides him, since he's the one that casted it. And then he would pick up the sharp piece of his broken sword, and he would slice through Naruto, but not in a way where it would kill him. The sword went straight through him, like how punches and kicks go straight through Obito. And he was confused, as then he felt a sharp pain on the side of his face, and he was sent flying. And then the bubble deactivated, and he would see the real Naruto. And the Naruto that he had sliced through wasn't a shadow clone, no. It was an after image. Naruto had moved so fast that he was invisible to them, and they couldn't even see him. He would then walk up slowly to Zabuza, as then a blur came from the trees, but it was stopped in his tracks by Naruto, who would be holding onto his face, saying, "What are you doing here? You're a Mist Anbu. You shouldn't be all the way out here." The Mist Anbu would be Haku, and Haku knows, since this is probably another Anbu. This is given since Naruto's in his Anbu clothes. He just doesn't have his mask with him. Haku has no choice but to fight. So he would throw 3 Senbon at Naruto, which Naruto would cut with his kunai. And then he would say, "Void style. Void dragon." As a dragon with red eyes and a purple body would burst from the ground, biting onto Haku's torso, flying up with Haku, slamming Haku down into the ground, killing Haku. This would anger Zabuza, who would punch Naruto in the face, but Naruto wouldn't move, he wouldn't budge. He would just force Zabuza's fists back by turning his head, and his hand would be engulfed in a dark red chakra, and around it would look like a claw of someone. And then he would put his hand straight through Zabuza's stomach. Then they take Tazen up to where he's supposed to be, and that was the end of the mission after defeating Gato's men. When Naruto's training, he would then be informed by Kakashi that Chunin exams are coming up and he should train. And Naruto knows he doesn't have to train for this, as he knows probably everyone there is going to be weak. No, he doesn't think probably. He knows they're going to be weak. But he still trains, as he likes training, and there's nothing better to do. And he would also unlock a Sage mode of somewhat, where his eyes would be pure red and slit-like, and he would get glowing red lines from the top of his eyes all the way to the bottom of his face, and there would be 2 for each eye. And then he would get lines above his eye that go up, and then they would turn and go off the side of his head, but that's where they would stop. As then a wolf symbol appeared on the middle of his head. It was also red, and it was glowing like the rest of the lines. And he would then get the same red lines around his arms, and this increased his strength, as he also gained ears, and his hair would be turned white and his skin would be pitch black. He would call this the Beast Sage mode. Oh, and also he gets long nails and sharp teeth, and this boosts his power exponentially. And he also trains more with his dojutsu, being able to use the blood release from the Kitsuri gun. And he's even made a jutsu, the dancing birds, where his own genjutsu, the dancing birds, where a bunch of different kinds of birds like flamingos, pigeons, doves would be around you fluttering and even moving around dancing. And you would feel the peck of their sharp beaks all over your body. And you would be stuck in this jutsu in real time for around at least 20 minutes, unless you were strong enough to release the genjutsu. But in there, it felt like months. And you would constantly just have to feel the pecking of the birds. So, this is where I'm going to end things off. And, yeah. Guess Ultimate Kage is out.